Welcome to today's webinar titled How to Fail Fast and Improve Even Faster. My name is Una Regan and I'll be the host here today. You're in for a treat. With us today we have a talented analyst, Eric Wittlake, who specializes in digital marketing and strategy. Eric is going to talk specifically to us about 4 ways to optimize your lead generation programs. And Eric has a special guest, Neil Rosen, who's the CEO of eWayDirect, and Neil will speak to the game-changing tools that he has built already that solve how marketers can simplify their lead acquisition options to guarantee budget optimization and maximum customer generation. So just a couple of housekeeping items firstly. We'll take questions at the end of the event, so please type them into the window or use Twitter. We created a hashtag on Twitter, and it's #CertainSource. So that's #Certain, C-E-R-T-A-I-N, source, S-O-U-R-C-E. And we will get to as many of those questions as possible. For the ones that we don't get to, we'll email folks individually after the event by email. So with that, I'll hand it over to Eric.
Thank you, Una. I'm going to step here through 4 ways that you can improve your lead acquisition today. These are 4 things that can be implemented pretty quickly. They're just a different mindset or different activities that you can do. Many of them you can start today. Some of them may take you a few days to get towards, but these are all pretty near-term actions and things you can put into action today to improve your lead acquisition and your lead generation ROI. With that, I'm going to step into the first one. First, optimize to ROI. This should be natural to everybody who's hearing this and seeing this. But I feel like it still has to be said because we see over and over again so many marketers are focused on the tool set that they have available and the measurement that they have easily available, and it leads them to places like clicks. It leads them to places like impressions. It leads them to status of delivery instead of actually focusing on ROI. All of these programs are real dollars in. You need to make certain you're measuring them on real dollars back out. I think we're all familiar with the quote, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. Well, today, and that quote's going on 100 years old. Today, the situation is different. You don't need to be like John. You actually can know where your dollars are going and the majority of the return that every dollar you spend is driving back into your business. And so that's an opportunity that today marketers just have to stay on top of. If you're not already measuring to ROI, you have to get there. You have to get the tool sets, the structure overall that you need as an organization, the focus in order to measure to ROI. I'll say if you don't get there, the pieces that follow here in the presentation and the discussion aren't actually going to be very accessible. If you're focused on measuring something like clicks, which as we see here, this is a great study that Nielsen did a couple years ago. The click rate and ROI are essentially not correlated at all. If you optimize a program against click rate as an example, you're going to have pretty random impact on ROI. One time it's going to be good, the next time it's going to be bad. Overall, you're not going to be moving your program forward at all by optimizing on click rate. And so we've got to get to ROI measurement across all of the programs that we're running. Once we're there, moving more quickly becomes paramount. Every single marketer, every single program has this curve that it's working against. And ROI, as time goes on, should be improving. Initially, you've got a pretty steep ramp, and then you have various inflection points that you'll hit as you continue on through that progression as a company. And so one of the things that you need to do is you need to move through all of those ramps as quickly as you can. Every time you move ahead more quickly, you put more space between yourself and your competitors. You become more profitable as an organization and in marketing's contribution, and that gives you the ability to do some of the other benefits of moving quickly, like actually being more agile and testing more new opportunities. And the more that you do that, the more you're going to be able to stay ahead of the curve of your competition, the more you're going to be able to stay ahead of the curve of the evolving marketing landscape as well. And so moving quickly in marketing is absolutely paramount, particularly for lead gen, direct response focused marketers. Lost time is lost money. Every single week there's the opportunity to drive leads in, to drive results into your bottom line. But the ability to catch up for the time you missed, oftentimes it's not there. Once that time is gone, the potential return, the money that you can drop to the bottom line from your programs is gone. You can't get that back. So moving quickly, being able to launch quickly, optimize quickly, take advantage of opportunity quickly is absolutely paramount to effective direct response and lead acquisition marketing. Step here to the third, toss the junk. This one I know that some people are going to be a little less comfortable with. One of the things that we see over and over again in marketing and in databases and in lead generation is there's a lot of garbage data. There's a lot of data that it's not necessarily technically bad data. It's a deliverable email address. There's a real person behind that, but they have no propensity to buy from you. They have no propensity to convert, to recommend, to do anything that's going to be valuable to your business. And one of the things that we say is you've got to get rid of that junk data. You've got to toss that. I love this quote from Nate Silver. The signal is the truth. The noise is what distracts us from the truth. Nate Silver is of 538 fame for predicting the outcome of the recent election as well as some before that, even when his predictions went counter to some of the polls. And this is kind of key to his mindset and the mindset we need as marketers as well, is we need to find the opportunities that will move us forward. And when we do that, we need to focus on the signal in our marketing and in our reporting. And oftentimes that's masked by the noise that comes from all of the other things that we're doing, from all of the other records in our database, the junk that contributes clicks, that contributes the random conversion or response, but also has some downside, that also contributes to reduced deliverability when there's less engagement there. Overall, that's something that can simply be dragging you back in your marketing. Another way of looking at this is that signal is your best prospects and the people you want to be focused on serving in your marketing, the people you want to be focused on being most relevant to. The noise is all that tracked behavior from the rest of your database and from the rest of your marketing activity. And when that noise starts to override the signal, your optimization becomes kind of like optimizing towards click rate earlier. It becomes a little bit random, and it's not actually moving you forward as well as it could. I know many marketers are going to recoil at the idea of tossing all of that junk data, of tossing the people who are least likely to become prospects. And if that's the position you're in, you've spent the money on those contacts, you've put the investment into email platforms, and there's very little incremental cost, or often no incremental cost to sending those additional emails, you'll want to keep doing it. If that's the case, at least carve them out, segment them out. If you can, protect their impact on deliverability in the rest of your programs as well. Get them out into a different platform. Go as far as you need to so that you can actually focus on the most likely source of incremental results for your business, and so that you can limit the impact of that noise as well as some of the technical challenges like deliverability that those lower quality contacts bring in your business and in your marketing. With that, we talked here a little bit about the things that you can focus on in acquisition. Let's go out to market, let's get more people in, let's get the right people in, and let's figure out how to manage that correctly, how to optimize that correctly. The next thing we need to do is we need to realize that the program doesn't stop there. We also have to fix the way we follow up with those people. We can change the follow-up and oftentimes dramatically improve the results of our acquisition program. And this is just by being relevant to everybody that comes in. One of the things, this is a stat recently from Marketing Sherpa, 45% improvement in lead gen ROI for companies that nurture leads. That just means that they're going back out with email follow-up or whatever channel they follow up with and saying, let's make certain that we're putting the right thing in front of each person just based on what we know about them. This is basic email segmentation practices. Have they engaged with us before? What did they engage with? What did they not engage with? What sort of offer or promotion or partner did they come in through? All of those things tell us something about the person that we're now emailing back out to, that we're now calling back out to. Whatever your process might be for follow-up on those leads, presumably email, if we just make certain we're making use of all of the information we have about them historically and interactions with us and crafting more appropriate, more relevant communications to each and every person just based on that segmentation info, we're going to improve dramatically the results of our lead gen programs and increase lead gen ROI. More recently, Experian rolled out this number. This was within the last few weeks. The Marketing Sherpa number was from last year, that specifically personalized emails, which shows that you have a fair bit of information about the individual, enough to personalize it, delivered 6 times higher revenue per email and 6 times higher transaction rates than emails that were not personalized. And this goes to being relevant. This also goes to personalization as a piece of this. I think there's a little bit of bleed here from the nurturing and relevant communications that come out of that, because the companies that do a good job of personalization do a good job of using the data they have about each individual to also create more relevant communications. So I would expect this 6x performance to come not purely from personalization, but from that combination of personalizing your email outbound, as well as ensuring that you incorporate all of the signals that you have about each individual for segmentation and delivering the most relevant email follow-up to each and every one of them. So to quickly recap, 4 things you can do today to improve the results from your program. First, switch up your optimization. Make certain that you're focusing on ROI first and foremost. Second, move more quickly. Don't let technology, don't let internal process, don't let your planning framework drag you down. Get out the door. Once time is gone, you can't get it back. 3, toss the junk. Quit being distracted by the noise that comes from a big chunk of your database that you're not able to actually reach back out and focus on your best performing potential prospects and your best performing partners. And 4th, fix your follow-up. There's a lot, once you're getting the right people in, there's then a lot you can do to continue to improve the conversion rate and therefore continue to improve the ROI from each and every prospect and partner you're working with. Thank you, and with that, I'm going to pass the baton over to Neil here to pick this up.
Thanks, Eric. I think that was just 4 really great tips and something that every marketer needs to really focus on. Another interesting study recently by Marketing Sherpa talked about how email marketers are shifting their focus now to customer acquisition and building their email lists. It's the number 1 or 2 priority for over 80% of marketers going into 2014. That's because email has now become a reasonably mature market. Most brands know how to do email, or sending out a lot of email, or realizing great ROI from email, probably the best of any marketing channel they have. So the way to grow the business now is to grow their email lists with really high quality leads and prospects, and to be able to grow it without any risk to their database, which is something you touched on a little bit with the toss the junk section. So CertainSource by eWayDirect is an automation, a marketing automation platform that takes what you were talking about, optimizing to ROI, picking up the pace, tossing the junk, and automates the entire process for marketers. And that's because B2C, the ecosystem of B2C customer acquisition, is fairly complex. There are thousands of lead sources that customers can look at, and there are probably hundreds of thousands of leads, or millions that's available to marketers. There are various channels and platforms, and marketers have a lot of decisions to make in terms of where to point their budget. B2C marketers also usually put pretty large budgets against this, which also talk to one of the other points you made again about tossing the junk, in that you're paying a lot of money for these leads, so why toss the ones that aren't great? And we'll get into that. But CertainSource, eWayDirect's platform, is really designed to help marketers optimize the ROI, pick up the pace, and identify the great stuff, the stuff that they can build their company around, the stuff that can take their companies to the next level in terms of new customers and in terms of building their email lists. It enables B2C marketers to manage and optimize lead generation. And like I said, that's not a small task. Because of the number of lead channels and sources, you could be doing display, and you're doing search, and you're doing Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and co-reg and affiliate, so many different channels, and within those channels, hundreds of sources broken out even further. The ability to be able to manage and then optimize at the source level is really critical to marketers, and to optimize to ROI, so that you can look at the key conversion factor you're looking at, be it a sale, be it filling out a form, be it even it could be traffic in some cases. But being able to optimize to ROI is critical, because one of the points I think, Eric, that you had made earlier, and I had also heard before, was that clicks don't really relate well to conversion. So people thinking I have a group of people who click a lot means I'm going to make a lot of money or improve my ROI is not necessarily true. It's pretty random there. So CertainSource manages the process, able to look at and organize thousands of lead sources at any given time in real time, automatically, and identify those sources that are performing best for that marketer. And once those sources are identified, to point budget there. So month after month, more and more of the marketing budget is going to sources, to lead sources that are really performing well, what we call top performing lead sources. And some of the budget, maybe 20% or so, is able to be used to test new lead sources, which in this world, in the world of the internet, pop up about every hour or so. So the ability to be able to test things at small throttle volumes and reasonable cost to see if they perform as well as the other sources you have is really critical. So 80% of budget going to a top performing, 20% testing to identify new top performing and then move it over is a mix that can really allow marketers to perform well. And because the platform enables marketers to do that in real time, it gives marketers the ability to really dramatically pick up the pace and outperform the competition. In addition, CertainSource eliminates risk to online reputation or inbox deliverability by identifying lead sources right from the beginning that have the potential to cause problems, to have spam traps or high complaint rates or high bounce rates or non-conforming leads, and shut those lead sources right down. So together you get to find your top performing lead sources very quickly, move your budget there, and eliminate risk. The key to it obviously is dashboards. With any marketing automation or SaaS platform, it's the dashboards that really drive results for your company. So within the dashboard you have a lead source scoring report, which scores all the lead sources based on performance against ROI, against your critical measuring. And out of the lead source scoring comes your spend advisor. And your spend advisor says, buy more of these lead sources, buy less of these lead sources, eliminate these lead sources. And that can be done weekly, it can be done monthly, but by doing it diligently and by doing it persistently, you will very quickly move that budget more and more toward your top performing sources. And then it comes down to what's your cost per acquisition. At the end of the day, you want to lower your cost per new customer acquisition or qualified prospect as much as you possibly can. And that's exactly what this does. Buying more leads from top performing sources drives down your cost per acquisition. And this chart will show it to you week after week, month after month. You'll see how that's actually happening. There's also the ability to do a source analysis, which gives you a chance to look at the broader ecosystem and get a feel for what percentage of the sources you're using are top performing sources, and what's the scalability of the program. So if you're running 100 lead sources through and 20, 25 are top performing, and there's another few thousand you can test, it gives you a feel for how many are going to perform for you and gives you the ability to really understand the upside and the scalability of the ecosystem out there to your specific business. Always looking at putting more and more of your budget against top performing. Dramatic improvement, up to 400% improvement in overall results, meaning lower cost per acquisition just by strictly adhering to the concept of identifying top performing lead sources and putting more and more of your budget towards those sources. It's all again about organizing, managing, and optimizing. being able to bring in hundreds or even thousands of lead sources, keep them organized, keep the sources throttled for volume so your spend is very much under control, identifying lead sources that perform well and automatically opening the throttle so more and more leads can come from those sources, eliminating the ones that don't perform well, eliminating the ones that are risky, and optimize week after week, month after month, optimize so that you have the best performing leads, customers, and qualified prospects going into your database. Let the junk go. As Eric said, it's really important. The cost of email is so low and the cost of acquisition high that it's difficult for marketers to understand the concept of, I paid a lot for that lead and now I'm going to dump it in the garbage. But it's absolutely critical. As Eric said, it's a distraction. They'll never generate enough revenue for your company to be relevant. And if you focus on the good stuff, you grow much, much more quickly. eWayDirect works with hundreds of clients, a lot of brand names, a lot of names that you recognize and that you see here, to help them add new customers to their database and also highly qualified prospects who will engage at as high or a higher level than people already in a company's database. So instead of being a potential harm to inbox delivery, they actually help inbox delivery by improving engagement. eWayDirect itself as a company, I know some of you have heard of us, probably some of you work with us, some haven't. We've been around for over 10 years. We have customers in 47 countries and service 10 verticals, over 100 brand name customers, and we offer a full suite of products besides CertainSource, which is our customer acquisition data analytics platform that we're talking about today. We also do some competitive social chat and monitoring, and we have an enterprise-level email platform. We've also recently won an award in the relevancy ring for the gold medal for customer service and support, which is one of the reasons why our customers love us. We are just absolutely engaged with our customers to do everything possible when they use our technology to drive the best possible results. Eric, thank you, and hopefully this has been really useful.
That's great, Neil. Thank you. Thanks, Eric, as well. Let's just take a couple of questions from the audience here. So the first one, where do you start if you have a small budget for lead gen? Eric, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. I'll take two sides to that. The first is if you have a small budget because you're working in a relatively small market, the upfront research is absolutely critical. Making the right initial bets goes a long way. Taking an extra couple days from that perspective should not take much longer than that. To find some of those initial places to actually place those first bets will help you get started on the right foot. The other side, if you're working with a larger market and you're just a smaller challenger in the space, or lead gen is a new endeavor for you, working with somebody who has experience in lead gen is going to be absolutely critical. Your audience may cover a lot of different areas, and so one of the things that you want to do is work with a partner who knows how to not just find your audience, but where the audience will be most engaged, and has experience not just with the media advertising, traditional outbound acquisition side, but has experience with lead acquisition. There's a lot of programs out there that will work really well that aren't usually visible to you as a consumer, and if that's the mindset you've oftentimes had when you're evaluating a program or evaluating potential partners, you're going to miss some of those best opportunities. And so turning to somebody who lives and breathes that lead generation space, they're going to be able to surface those opportunities for you, find some things that are most definitely going to be more cost-effective, going to be able to ramp up more quickly, likely are going to be able to get you a lot more volume for your dollar, which leads to a lot more testing and learning very quickly and early on in your program. So I'd say those two, broad market, go find somebody who knows not just how to find your audience, but where lead gen works against them. For a niche market, go for that where your audience lives. Take a little bit of extra time to tailor your program very specifically for your niche audience.
Which is, Eric, that's a great point. And in a way, it's like online and offline aren't that different. Your customers online, your future customers are hanging out in the same place, and they're hanging out often where your current customers are. So identifying where that's happening is really critical to building a great program.
Awesome. So just taking another question here. I hear you when you say toss the junk, and that's the beginning of the question, but it is junk I'm paying for. How do I justify that to ROI? I'm sure at least a little of that will convert.
And you're right, a little of that will convert, and the critical word there is little. So typically the junk has the ability to cause problems for your company with inbox delivery and reputation. It's within the junk that you might find spam traps and people who complain frequently, that type of thing. But in spite of that, every study we've done and everything we've looked at has really shown that that junk performs at an incredibly low level. You may be losing a sale or two, but you're not losing dozens or hundreds of sales. And the cost and time it takes to continue to engage with that people, even with the cost of email as low as it is, will typically be more than the amount of revenue generated and distract you from the primary goal of identifying and finding more top-performing leads, the ones you really want to build your company around.
Eric, did you want to chime in there?
It's hard to add a lot to that, so I'll just add a little bit of emphasis, is the distraction. And if you've got, let's put some numbers against it, if you've got a database of 20 million records, 500,000 are potential best performers, best responders, then you go through and calculate out the click rate difference between the two, conversion rate difference between the two. You real quickly see that what's going to happen is when you look at all of that in aggregate, your click rate, your conversion rate, your purchase rate, your transaction rate, any of those rates that you're going to look at as either diagnostic or performance are going to be pulled way, way, way down by the fact that 19 out of every 20 contacts possibly are in that low performer segment. And so that's going to paralyze some of your optimization and keep you from moving quickly. Even if it didn't introduce deliverability, even if you carved it out someplace else such that it didn't have an impact, which would be a lot of additional work to do for a pretty low value audience, even if you could limit that, the fact that it's just distracting you and forcing a loss of focus has a lot of impact in your ability to move quickly as an organization. I think that's one of the big challenges with those big pools of low quality, low response data.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And one just last little point is, don't forget that even though, like, it might be 500,000 out of 20 million, but on the B2C side, you're talking hundreds of millions or billions. So you can build a very large company and a very large high-quality email list and customer base with top-performing people. You don't need to get to the junk to grow your company.
Okay.
Well said.
So just taking the final question here, what about costs? The question is directly asking, will I see enough boost in performance to justify buying an automation platform like CertainSource?
Eric, why don't you take that? I think it would be a little self-serving for me.
Sure. One of the big benefits you'll see is in the time that it takes for you to move up that ROI curve. And you have the opportunity to improve performance far more quickly through use of technology platforms that let you measure everything in a closed loop, react to that closed loop measurement, change programs, take them down, bring new ones up, bring new challengers into the mix more quickly. And so there's a lot of value for the vast majority of marketers in bringing in technology for replacing a lot of that manual and therefore very slow process today that slows down your marketing and keeps you from getting up that ROI curve as quickly as possible.
And just one last point on that, with a fully transparent platform, you're actually going to see the numbers. So you're going to know 90 days down the road just how much you improved and compare that to the cost of the platform, and you'll see the value for yourself.
Right.
Right. So staying conscious of time here, let's finish up. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Neil. Really informative content here. As a marketer, I certainly will be using these tips. So just to the audience, we'll make the recording available online on our site, so look for that. And look out for the launch of the new and improved CertainSource platform by eWay over the coming weeks. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Una.
Thank you.